So now that I've ridden a GS, a 1250, probably the ultimate GS, I think, anyway, would I buy one? Right. Hello, everybody. So, yes, you find me on the world's biggest adventure bike. So I've never ridden a GS before, any BMW from what I can remember. And yes, it's quite a frightening prospect when you actually see it and you think, I've got to get my leg over this. Now, this is tall. I don't know quite how tall it is. It's the tallest bike I've ever ridden. And I'm sort of on the balls of my feet with this bike. But yes, it's quite, what shall I say? Shall I say daunting? So it's quite quite an event. But the first thing I would say about it is, I get it. I can see why people love these bikes, and I can see very straight away why, you know, when they get on them, they just think, wow, what a piece of kit, you know, because it is at the end of the day. And it's immense. But boy, do you know, I can imagine having this loaded. I can remember when I was in Morocco and seeing people with these things fully loaded and thinking, holy moly, how the hell are you riding that around? You know, you're just pulling up and finding somewhere which is, you know, nice and flat. Because even just the thought of actually putting it on a side stand is, goodness me, you know, it's quite a thing. I remember the problems I have in my Africa Twin, and this is sort of this is that and then some in it, really. But it's, you know, this is not done big mileage by any stretch. It's a 2019 model, and it's immaculate. It's absolutely immaculate. It's not a cheap bike by any stretch, but it's, you know, this is when the 1250, when the 1300 came out. These became in high demand, these 1250s, these last gen 1250s, because people didn't quite want a 1300, did they? And I think, you know, people wanted these, and there was a high demand. And I think that demand is starting to slacken off a little bit. And I'm not sure whether that is because the 1300 has now sort of become more sort of mainstream, but you don't know what I mean, or whether it's because the hunger for big adventure bikes has dropped. So, you know, if they're going to buy them, people might just be buying new ones now. And you know, you do sort of think, has the age of the giant adventure bike now gone? Will it ever come back? Because we've seen the popularity of the small sort of 450 adventure bikes, you know. The people that could afford to buy these are also thinking, well, I don't want to think that big, it's just too much. You know, manoeuvring around the garage and all the rest of it, you know, it's difficult, isn't it? But you can see the quality in this bike. Let's go and have a bit more of a look around it. And then we're going to do a bit more riding. This is not going to be an in-depth review, but it's going to be my thoughts on giant adventure bikes, really. Right, so here it is. Let's have a chat about the GS1250. It is a stunning bike without any shadow of a doubt. Let's have a look around it. So this is sort of like the last iteration, isn't it, really? So this is the HP. So this is sort of like the ultimate last version, isn't it, really, I suppose? And it's got all the bits that I would like on one of these. Gold wheels, tricolour, beautiful paintwork. I still think there is a demand for these, in as much as if you didn't really like the new version, the 1300, then you're going to be looking at this version, aren't you, really? And I think these are starting to become less and less common now to find a really good last incarnation R1250, because they do the HP, is it the TE? This I think is the Adventure, but I mean it is an absolute beast, isn't it, at the end of the day? But a beautiful thing nevertheless. So you've got on here, obviously you've got your gold wheels. You still got we've got steering damper. We got that I want to say telehandling, telecentric, whatever it is, telescopic front suspension, which is quite unique to the Bmw GS, isn't it? But you know what? It does work, and I'm getting nothing through the front. It makes it so stable at the front. It's really, really impressive. And although the frame of the bike and everything is big, I mean, it is a big piece of kit. It doesn't feel that on the road. And I think the nice thing is that it rides really good, and very, very stable. Although I'm still quite concerned when I actually when I stop and put the side stand down. I'm still very gingerly getting off this thing. And I used to have the same thing with my Africa Twin, you know, because you didn't know whether the sand was going to flip away from you or whatever it was. So you do have to be slightly careful, and in these high winds as well. In terms of the sort of fixtures and fittings, we have a great screen on these. It's really nice. They are keyless, so the key sort of sits in this little bit here, and then once you press the button for on and off, it gives you all the information. As I said on the ride round, the screens on these are fantastic. They're so clear because they got that matte sort of anti-sheen sort of finish to them, which is really good. You've also got where you can put your nav in here as well. It's surprising they didn't put the nav in there, but I quite like that. I think people like the extra screen. This has got heated grips. I think it's got heated seats as well, as far as I can tell. You can switch the ABS off and all that sort of stuff. So plenty of functionality. But boy, does this stuff feel quality at the end of the day. Something I also like is that we have solid reservoirs on here. I don't like those glass ones that you get, those glass plasticky ones. I always think they look a bit cheap, but that's just me. Big range on this bike, but I think the thing now is are these still relevant in today's market? We know what's happening with the price of fuel. It's getting expensive, and will it knock these bikes again a little bit? I think there, as I said on the ride, that the market for adventure bikes is changing, is it? The demographic that were buying these bikes, which I suppose in my age group are thinking, you know, there was, but there wasn't a great alternative small size that gave you this look and feel. And I think the Chinese tried to fill that gap, didn't they, really? With bikes which looked like this, but were a much smaller capacity and much cheaper. And I think that knocked these bikes quite a lot. Now, are we going to see another knock with the problem with the cost of fuel? Quite possibly. It's not going to be cheap to fill this up. It's not going to be cheap. And I think people will be making economies in it. And what you might see is quite a few of these bikes come onto the market. But if you check out Superbike Factory pricing, that will give you the market price for these bikes, I think. It'll tell you where it is at this current moment in time. But in terms of the actual bike itself, I just think it's stunning. You can see it's well engineered. You know, it's German through and through, isn't it? Our classic horizontal twin, which has been around since God was a boy. And it's something I talked about before with Motor Guzzi. You know, if you've got an engine that works, it just works. Why change it? Why go to the trouble of completely redesigning it when you've got something that actually does the job? And this does. And this does look really good. And it is a really impressive bike. So what is it actually like to ride? Well, it's sort of as I expected, really. There's no disappointment in this bike. It is a lovely bike. We're at a very windy day today, I will say that. It is a lovely bike. It's beautifully put together. I will say though that if I compared it to the only one I could really compare it to, my Africa Twin, the Africa Twin is a far more refined bike and engine. This feels quite, agricultural is not the right word, but it's more mechanical. That's a good word, isn't it? I like that. This is more mechanical. Um, but the actual quality of the fit and finish is as good as anything. The thing that the BMW do really well are the screens. I think the screen on this is lovely, and it's got that nice matte sheen to it, which means you can see it in all sorts of different light variants. So the other thing which is lovely, you've got that, is it the telly thingy mid-jig front suspension, and I can see the forks doing that. I'm feeling nothing through this bike. You can see the forks working really well, and that's a great system, isn't it? And you can see why they continue to use it and not go sort of more conventional like everybody else, because that's lovely. That really works. I just wish more companies, I wish the people that build scramblers would do the same thing in terms of their suspension setup. You know, this is, I'm not going to say it's like going around on the magic carpet, but it's like being on a magic carpet. I said it. But it is lovely. The gearbox and also, again, it's reassuringly mechanical, if that makes sense to anybody. You know, I know it's gone into gear. It's a bit like, you know, flicking a bolt on a rifle. It's got that nice positivity to it. You can hear it. I am getting some, I can feel the tyres on it. I'm not sure what the tyres are. The tyres are pretty new on here. But I can feel it. Do you know, I can feel I'm on the road. It's not, the Africa Twin was, again, I say sort of more refined than this. Whereas this, I can feel everything. I love watching it. Do you know anything funny? I love watching suspension going up and down. I love that. It's strange. Do you know, I said I like bike in front of me, and I've got that. I've really got that. Yeah, it is lovely. It's a nice place to be, but I actually think it's a difficult place to be if you're in a slightly iffy situation, you know, on a boat. You know how, you know, when we go on boats and you have that thing where you know, the ground might be a little bit slippery, there might be a little bit of oil, and you have to put your foot down, you've got to maneuver it a little bit. That's when this gets really tricky on a bike like this, which is so heavy and so tall. Now, you can obviously get lowering kits for these and that sort of stuff. So, and you can see why, you know, you can see why that would be a really good idea. I know I was talking to the guys at Superbike Factory, and, you know, the thing about, you know, how do you lift one of these up if it falls over? And you see these things where you'll get, you know, a 3-year-old will pick up a GS. It's just nonsense, isn't it? It really is. I would not want to try and pick this up. Yeah, it's it falls over and I walk off and go and get something else. Right, coming up to a lorry that's right on a brow of a hill. That's really useful, isn't it? Should have a banksman for that. Never mind, we're good. I'm high enough I can see over the hill. But I think the big plus of these bikes is, one, it looks fantastic. I love the trike. You know I love tricolour. White, red, blue, fantastic. The sort of laziness of the engine, it's an engine that has so much torque that you could just plod along quite merrily. It doesn't complain about it. But it's also a bike that if you drop a couple of cogs, you know it's gonna fly. It's going to absolutely fly. It turns nicely though. I must admit, you get that sense that you applying counter steer on this bike. It's just lovely. It's really lovely. It takes nothing to turn it. You don't. It's a big bike, but you don't feel like you're riding a barge. You don't have to aim it at the corner. It will just turn into it. And the brakes, those front brakes, fantastic. It's got great engine braking as well. And I think some of that comes because you've got shaft drive, and I think shaft drive gives you better engine braking than chain, and a more reliable engine braking in that respect. It's lovely around here. I'm getting totally lost. I'm glad I got my phone because I have no idea where I am. But I don't think I'm too far away. So now that I've ridden a GS, a 1250, probably the ultimate GS, I think, anyway. Would I buy one? I think at my time of life, probably not. I think it's a beautiful bike, and I think it's a fantastic feat of engineering, and I completely understand why people love these things, because you know, it's carved a furrow, isn't it? It for everything that came after this. This is, you know, this is where it all really started, didn't it? Really, I suppose, in this genre of bike, and it is a beautiful thing. But I just think, for me, the cost, certainly new, and my ability to maneuver these bikes around, you know, has just stopped me doing this. I think 20 years ago, well, yeah, wouldn't I? You know, 10 years ago, I probably would have had one of these. And if I'd had one, I'd probably still have it. And I think that's the thing. I think once you ride one of these bikes, you know, you just think it is the ultimate, isn't it? It's where you want to be. Just the looks alone. But I can imagine, I just imagine loading this up with blooming panniers and bags and all the rest of it. I mean, it is an absolute extraordinary thing, size-wise, weight-wise. And, you know, once you're on these bikes, when you're moving, they just move beautifully. You know, there's no... I've been on bikes where you had to aim the darn things. This you don't. It feels as light as a ballet dancer when you're going around corners and just tripping along. And that telemetric telly, I will get it right. Suspension is fantastic on the front. It's really good. And it's matched equally by the back. I'm having no issue riding this. And it's handling all the bumps beautifully. It really is. But it's one hell of a thing, isn't it, to maneuver around? It really is. And you got to think, could I cope with that on an everyday basis? Could I ride this to work if I was going to do 15 miles a day just to, you know, nip into the office? I don't know if I'd want to do that. It's difficult, isn't it, really? Probably I would. You know, if I live somewhere really lovely. I suppose the thing with a bike like this, you know, with the current state of UK roads, this is probably the bike to have, because it's something that can cope with it, isn't it, really? But will the price of fuel now hit these bikes? Will it hit the price again? Will we see a lot more of these coming onto the market and people going into small bikes again? So it may be, you know, another month's time, it may be the time to pick one of these up. You know, put it away because you bought it at a bargain price, and, you know, get it out and then whiz across Europe on it. Because it'll do it in its stride, you know. That's what this thing was built for, wasn't it? Just crossing continents, really. And it would do it with ease. But yeah, it is a beautiful bike. It is a beautiful bike, without doubt. And I'll look forward to riding another BMW in the future. But as an exercise in engineering, boy, didn't the Germans get it right. And the sales figures will tell you that. Right, I got to find my way back. I think I can do it. I really think I can do it. Because I got to take it back to the Superbike factory. So thanks very much to them for lending me this. It's been very, very kind of them indeed. But I got to get it back in, and I got to wing my way back all the way back down to Sussex, because I'm at Donnington. Right. Thanks for that, everybody. Look after yourselves, and please remember to ride safe. Take care. See you soon.